What's up, everybody? It's Monday. It's the Sports Wheelhouse. You know what we do. Chip and JD about to pop it off. We coming at you live, talking a lot of crazy sports things happening, talking some banana stuff in the Philly sports world and beyond. It's the Sports Wheelhouse. Get your comments in. Here we go. Oh, what's up, everybody? It's a Monday night, a couple weeks in a row now. We're JD and I were on point, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Sports Wheelhouse here in the AAT Sports Network. JD, we made it 2 weeks in a row. How are we doing this evening?
Feeling good, ready to get active. Let's do this.
Okay. So there's a bunch of craziness that happened in the sports world over the last week. We have a bunch of it on the wheel. If anybody has anything else they want to discuss, throw the comments in. You know how we do. The wheel begins and we off. Cool. I love this. Phillies mercy. So the Philadelphia Phillies, when we last met, were still in the Major League Baseball playoffs. Since that time, they ran into the buzzsaw that is the New York Mets. They played a game one. Wheeler pitched great. The bats didn't do diddly. They played a game two. They won barely. They played a game three. The bats didn't do diddly. And for me, and I said this on the morning of game four, I said either they blow out their opponents or don't even bother. Don't even bother, because the one thing I did not want this Phillies team to give us was a hope that we were going to somehow come back and win this game, come back and win this series. This Phillies team played atrocious this whole postseason. They couldn't hit worth a damn. They made the wrong adjustments. They got pretty decent outings from Zach Wheeler, and then beyond that, nothing much. Gave up a lot of solo home runs, gave up timely home runs, gave up. The bullpen just gave up. So looking at this Phillies team, I personally feel like it was a mercy killing for them to lose that series in four. I find myself appreciating that it didn't go any longer, even though obviously as a Phillies fan, we want to. I'm still wearing the hat. I'm still ready to ring the bell. But I mean, point blank period, the team was not prepared to compete with what these two sets of championship series games are. On one hand, you've got a Dodgers team that has one of the best payrolls in all of baseball, going against a Mets team that has completely caught fire. On the other side, you've got Cleveland and the New York Yankees again, payroll versus bit of a fire. I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't really care at this point who makes it to the World Series. I don't really care at this point who wins the World Series. The Phillies were a colossal letdown. And what all they have done now is shown that much like the 76ers, the regular season doesn't matter. which is frustrating because it's a lot. The regular season is long in baseball. The regular season is very, very long in baseball. 162 games, then a wild card play in, and blah, blah. This Phillies team did fine during the regular season. We won a NL East championship, which is great, but that bye week absolutely killed us. It didn't help that going into the bye week. It didn't help that going into that playoff bye week. Hey JD, welcome back. I've been ranting about the Phillies.
Dude, I don't even know what happened.
You just were gone. All of a sudden, you weren't blinking.
Wow. Okay. What I missed?
So you're missing that I'm ranting about the Phillies, that the team was a massive letdown, that much like the Philadelphia 76ers, they just showed that the regular season doesn't matter. What bothers me, though, compared to the 76ers, is that the Phillies season is much, much longer. The load management thing, they had a very decently hot start to the season. They were the best team in baseball by a lot. And then starting at the end of August all the way through September, they couldn't win lickety shit. And I just don't know how this team gets fired. There's a lot of people calling for Rob Thompson getting fired. I don't have Rob Thompson getting fired. That's not going to solve this problem. Now, when we get to Sirianni, that's a different conversation. But that's not going to solve this problem, right? The Phillies need to look. They had the bullpen. That was the big thing last year. They had the bullpen. Playoffs, no bullpen. Starting pitching. You got a bunch of guys. You got Zach Wheeler and company. Aaron Nola ain't it, y'all. And we can sign him for a big old deal. You're going to lose some of the players that you have. That's the big. You're going to lose some of the players that you have. So you got to figure out who you can afford to lose. Like, I don't necessarily want to get rid of JT Realmuto because he's the best catcher in baseball, but his bat didn't deliver. So for $22 million, you can bring up Marshawn from the minors and let him play and get the same productivity from the bat. Right?
True.
Castellanos played 162 games, but I don't see a world necessarily where he's back on this team because he played in 162 straight games and did a job. Schwarber, you're going to find a way to keep. Harper, you're going to find a way to keep. Trey Turner was a massive letdown. You're going to find a way to get. Like, they're going to make sense of these guys, but this window on the Phillies may be closed.
I don't disagree. I think the bullpen's always been a problem since I can remember watching the Phillies. So to say that like we're talking about Nola and stuff like that is not like it's kind of par for the course. There are some guys that y'all do need to resign. I know with Bryce Harper having this astronomical um astronomical salary, it does make things a little bit dicey as far as like getting new talent, paying some guys that you need to want, and
But with
going after
Harper,
some
he's
guys.
a guy that wants to win though. So like he would take the pay cuts as necessary.
Well, it's not really that. It's just that so much money that you can only spread it out for so long. You know what I'm saying? Like
True.
you can only spread out his money for so long. You can only underpay him for so long because eventually he's gonna have to get that top end of the money, and it's gonna hit you at probably one of the worst times. So as far as the salary cap goes, it kind of handcuffs y'all a little bit as far as being able to go and get somebody that may be a bigger name in free agency just because the money might not be there. And there's a lot of other more attractive franchises to go to technically. Um, I, I don't like the idea of firing anyone. I don't like the idea of getting rid of anybody, but at the end of the day, like I don't know, like it's you can you can always point to disappointment and say that's the reason why you get rid of somebody, but are you really going to get rid of them? Because I don't really think you should. I think you should give them more time. And I'm gonna say the same thing about Sirianni in a little bit. So spin it.
I mean, here's the other thing about this before we get anywhere else, right? You look at regression. So Rob Thompson took over a Phillies team that was going absolutely nowhere, and it got exciting. Why? Because he was the guy that was going to prove everybody wrong, which was very, very cool. Right?
Mhm.
They make it to the World Series. They lose the World Series, but they make it there. Following
Right.
year, they make it to the NLCS. They lose, but they make it there. This
Hmm.
year, We win the division, get that bye week, make it to obviously to the NLDS,
Right.
but lose in a really ugly, horrific way. This team is not getting better. The teams around them are getting better. The teams around them are getting hungrier. So what has to change is the question.
Well, that's a huge question. It's a huge question that you need to ask, but you can't answer it today. You can't answer it today. Like I don't think.
No, you can't.
I mean, and that's what people want. People want instant gratification. They don't want to wait the time to go through the process of looking at the things after the off season. That's when you got the time to do it. Let's look at processes. Let's look at the things of that nature. Let's look at what we've done wrong. Let's see if we can fix it in the off season, opposed to just to throw someone away. Like we are so quick to throw people away, and that don't even be the issue, or that don't even be the fix. So that's just my thoughts.
But and here's my thing with this, and that's why I brought up the Sixers point, right? The Sixers are dominant in the regular season, and then they do not know how to play in the playoffs. This Phillies team was built to compete in October, and they
Right.
had a very good regular season, and then did not know how to compete in the playoffs. From not knowing when to pull guys, from the bullpen just forgetting how to pitch, from Rob making all the wrong moves to the bats going completely silent. So, how do you, and you just talked about it in the offseason, how do you go an entire offseason, make whatever changes you're going to make, even then have a good regular season and expect people to pay for those tickets in the regular season, only to have them shit the bed in the playoffs?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest, I mean, there's only 5 teams every year that really have a real shot at winning it. Like, let's be honest, out of the 30 something
But
teams
you
that are in
can't tell me that the Mets were one of those teams in March, because the Mets were not one of those teams.
maybe they're
In
not,
the Final Four.
but if I'm being real, I don't think you guys were the team that year that you guys went to the host to the big show, the World Series. I don't think you guys were. Nobody picked y'all to be winning the World Series or in the World Series that year. So anybody can get hot. Like I also think it's a lot of luck. Like winning championships is a lot of skill and even more luck, because everything's got to happen right where it's supposed to. People have got to be put in place right where they're supposed to be at. Because if not, you can run into a bad matchup, and that what wipes you out. It has nothing to do with like talent for talent. Sometimes it's a bad matchup. Um,
Agreed.
so to be honest, should people pay their money? I mean, yeah, if you like a team, you like a team. In a place like Philadelphia, it's more of a blue collar. So you're gonna have people that don't have as much money that are going to the games. But to be honest, if they didn't go to the game, they still be watching it or listening to it or whatever the case may be. So at the
But
end of
like
the day, like
I committed to watching 162 baseball games this year, only to have them finish it off worse than they did last year.
what would you do if you didn't?
I mean, I know, and I'll still watch. But I'm
No, what I'm
just
saying,
saying it's hard.
I'm
It's hard to trust this team, just like
what
it's
I'm
hard to
sa-
trust the Sixers.
what I'm trying to say is that people complain about it. Like I complained about the Steelers all last year. And I still watch all the games. Like I'm still gonna watch. I'm still gonna complain. That's a part of my daily ritual. And when they finally win it all again, then I'll be jubilant. But that's a part of the fandom. That's a part of fandom is your team not being so good, then they go win, and then you're happy about being a fan again. So it is what it is. What you got on that beautiful wheel of yours?
I got so many things on the wheel. Thanks for asking. Now, if I put this wheel up, you're not going to like disappear again, right?
No, I don't know what happened, dude.
I like it. The wheel knows. The wheel knows. 200 games later. So
We should have had that on the 200 games later.
200 games later. So what I am going to tell you is I am now an umpire that has done 200 games plus in a season.
Wowzers.
Like I'm still going, right? I'm still going. I still have a couple games left. But obviously it's starting to wind down. I'll probably end up around so I think I just did game like 208. I'll probably end up 215, 217, somewhere in that range. And I already have 30-some games for next year. What do I know now that I did not know 200 games ago?
Not a damn thing.
Number one, coaches do not know the rules.
We could have told you that. 200
I
games
knew
ago.
that. I knew that. But I'd never seen it.
Oh, you seen it? Because I remember last year you told me some things, and so coaches didn't know some rules, and I knew some rules that they didn't know, and I don't know nothing about
But
baseball.
I think this is the thing that bothered me, right? So I think back to the one tournament that I did, and it was like a college showcase tournament. And I almost had to eject a coach. Why? Because he legitimately was arguing until he was blue in the face that he knew a rule. I'm like, sir, you're wrong. And I double and triple checked with my people afterwards. And I was right. Coaches do not know the rules.
Most of us don't. They change rules so many times though, so like it's hard to keep up.
Number two, things that I know now 200 games later. Catchers that can't hit are the worst form of brat.
Why?
Well, I did a game this past weekend. So this is actually kind of recent, right?
Young
I did a
Javi.
game this past weekend. And Javi saying, how much is it that they don't know or just seeing how far they can get away with? I'll tell you the story that broke that for a second. But I was doing a game this past weekend, and this catcher, he got a little mouthy on some things, but whatever. But I get him on a check swing, right? He checks his swing. He doesn't think he went. He went. It was a drop third strike, so then he had to, run down to first base. He doesn't get there. He's thrown out. It's the third out of the inning. I know for an absolute fact in my mind that he was going to be the brattiest of bratty brats when he got back there to be the next catcher in the next half inning. Umpire management, what do? While he's warming up, after he gets all of his gear on, knowing that he's still pissy, I wait as far away from home plate as possible. I give him a chance to cool down. Right? That's good game management. I didn't go looking for the fight. I knew he was pissy. I knew something was going to happen. Put the mask on. I get right behind him. And sure enough, he goes. All right, throw it right in. Maybe someone will swing the halfway through the mound, or maybe someone will swing halfway through and he'll call it a strike. Mask comes off. Connor, we're really doing this? That's right. I used his baseball government because I knew it. He's like, what do you? I was like, no. I said, we're not talking about this. I said, it's over. It's done with. It's a fall league game. And not to mention, you just outed yourself by saying you swung halfway through the zone. That's called a strike. We good? You sure? Let me know. Mask back on. Are you kidding me? And then I am for the next half inning, like, I swear to God, if I wear one because he dives out of the way, I'm running him and I'm breaking my no ejection streak. I know it. Now, he wasn't that much of a brat, but his whole team was like, he's a brat. And I said to his coach, I'm like, listen, when the spring season rolls around, he's going to say something to the wrong umpire and he's going to get right. He's like, well, this all stems from last playoff season. He kind of changed his personality. People were chirping. I was like, all that's great. I said, but there's a scout literally right there, video recording everything. And he's mouthing off. Catchers that can't hit are the brattiest of brats.
Okay, that's fair.
Fair, right?
That's fair.
Now, I showed my restraint. I didn't run him.
Connor sounds like a chooch.
A chooch. Mike sounds like a chooch. Yeah. Connor sounds like a chooch. I'm telling you what, he was polite before the game and he was the starting pitcher and my zone was good. And then he came in to catch and he's a good player. The previous at bat, I called a strike that he didn't like. So now he's sitting there with 2 strikes. He went went the opposite way. I was like, yo, Connor, good at bat. And then this whole thing happened. I'm like, dude, just know. Javier, the thing that they got away with, here's the rule, right? And we're going to play. JD, do you know the rule?
Oh, God.
I know you love this game.
I hate this game.
I know you love this game. All right. Fly balls hit to left field.
Okay.
How you with me so far? Lands in fair territory. We're all good.
Mm.
Okay. So it's a fair ball.
Yeah.
It then bounces foul. Okay, you with me so fair? It's a fair ball, but it bounces into foul territory, so it's still a fair ball. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
In the midst of trying to field it, the left fielder kicks the whole thing out of play.
Okay. You said the outfielder kicked it out of play?
Boots it out of play. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. The runner, at the time that the ball was boinked out of play, had not reached second base yet.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Here's the question. What base does the runner get awarded to?
He was running. I think he has to go back to first, doesn't he?
Well, that's just way wrong.
Hold on. Didn't you say it was a runner on second or third?
There was nobody on.
And so he ran, and the ball got booted. He got kicked. I guess he did some more than second, to be honest, because he didn't reach third. He didn't reach third. Javi saying third, but he didn't reach third yet, did he?
He hadn't reached second yet.
So how you know what? Just explain the rule. That don't make
So
sense.
the rule is, right? So at the time of the ball going out of play, it's 2 bases from the last occupied base. He was approaching second. He had not reached it yet.
That sounds like some.
His last occupied base was first base. So 2 bases is second and third. He got third. Coach did not understand that. This is a college.
Yeah, I didn't understand.
This is a college AAU level coach.
I'm gonna be honest with you. It is what it is.
It's basically a ground rule double, yes, because it's saying that they haven't reached first base yet. Right. If he had reached second base, and all chaos would have broken out here. If he had reached second base,
he scored
it out of play. He goes home.
This is terrible. All right, this is why I don't like baseball. Stop giving people things they don't deserve.
Because the left fielder couldn't field the ball. No, you absolutely give it to him. It's a penalty.
But it's like, is it an error?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. CJ, you about to talk about that. Hopefully we'll talk about the Cowboys thing.
Yes, DJ, we are absolutely talking about the Cowboys thing. But that goes to my point, right? 200 games later, I learned that coaches do not know the rules, that a lot of umpires don't know the rules, right? I think we brought that up. A lot of umpires don't know the rules. Some umpires are amazing. Some umpires are not. Some umpires pick the boogers, right? Some umpires would have thrown Connor out of the game. Some umpires would have stood directly next to Connor and waited for him to say something.
Poor Connor.
Poor Connor. Yeah, it's penalty because if not, I would do it on purpose, keep him from that. Yeah, absolutely, right? If I know that kicking it out of play means that's over, yeah, you have to penalize him for it. Absolutely.
All right, let's see what we got on this wheel. I'm ready to get active.
But 200 games later, I know, because it's been both baseball topics. But 200 games later, I know that I have become a really damn good umpire.
Ooh, this is perfect. Okay. The wheel knows. The wheel knows.
The wheel knows. And what I will tell you is while we are discussing this, we cannot discuss Sirianni because he has his own category on the wheel.
True. Fair shot. That's fair shot.
Okay. Fair shot. So then let's start with CJ's question here. Do y'all think the Cowboys go ahead and fire their head coach?
To be real, to be honest, I don't necessarily think it's the coach's fault. Like, I really don't. Like, as much as I don't like McCarthy, I don't think it's his fault. The fault is on Dak. Like, that the whole offense not working is Dak and the GM, because the GM has now paid Dak crap ton of money to do nothing. He's done.
Who is the GM?
Oh, we know the GM. It's my man, but he ain't going nowhere.
And that's Mike's point here, right? And this kind of goes with what CJ is saying is, do the Cowboys fire their head coach? I agree it's not McCarthy's fault, right? It's not McCarthy's fault that the GM built a bad football team.
And you paid the wrong guy.
However, is McCarthy going to take the blame for it? Absolutely.
Oh, I got to stand up for this. Listen, I am at a point. I am way past the point of where we blame McCarthy for this. That was there before he got there.
Correct?
He's tried to change. He's tried to do some other things. You can't
Correct?
stop. My dad used to say you can't stop stupid. You know what I'm saying? When
You can't.
somebody, you cannot stop stupid. So if these guys are gonna sit here and say, "Oh, it's McCarthy's fault," it's not McCarthy's fault. It
It's
is
not McCarthy's
Jerry
fault,
Jones.
but is he the fall guy?
I mean, he
Jerry
may
Jones
be.
isn't going to fire himself. Jerry Jones is not going to fire himself.
He may be, but McCarthy didn't do nothing.
Adam says differently. Adam says Mike McCarthy has been a terrible play caller since he took over. The roster sucks, but he continues to be overrated.
Okay, so here's the point for this. So if the roster sucks, if you, my dad used to say back in the day, he say, "What's half of nothing?"
A Cowboys fan.
So half of nothing, it means nothing. So if I give you a half of a trash team to call plays with, I can't run plays to nobody if I ain't got the people to run plays to.
But
He's
you're
got
telling me that you waited too long to pay Dak. You waited too long to pay CD. You said that you don't have the money for who? Derrick Henry, who was in a complete reemergence here. CJ is kind of along the same lines, right? The GM don't make the play calls. I'm pretty sure Jerry Jones has a direct connect to that headset. I'm pretty sure he does make the play calls.
And even if he do, y'all, like even if he do, like make the plays or whatever, he ain't got the players. You got CD Lamb,
He
and that's
doesn't
it.
have the players, and that's it.
That's it. There's nothing. There's nothing to talk about. There's nothing like he don't have. He got one All-Star receiver and a piss poor quarterback at best. So what are we talking about?
I mean, I think that Javier, Mike, CJ, Adam, everything they're saying makes a lot of sense, right? They built a bad team.
Yes.
And then with that bad team, they are bad, right? So who is to blame? We know that Jerry Jones, as long as he continues to run the team, is going to be to blame. However, he will not be the fall guy. McCarthy is going to get fired before the end of the season.
He may get fired, but that will not fix their issue. It's like
That's not
putting
what
a
we're talking
Band-Aid.
about. That's not what we're talking about, though. I agree. It's not going to fix their issue.
But you're saying who? He said, "Who is the fire?" He's like, "What about the bad years prior to that?" That's what I'm
What about
saying.
the years prior? He's saying, what about the years? Right? McCarthy's been pretty good when the whole team was together, right? But again, who is going to take the fall when this doesn't work? Jerry Jones is not going to fire himself.
But what I'm saying is he didn't say that. He said, should they fire him? And I don't think they should.
No, they shouldn't. Absolutely not. No, they shouldn't.
And I don't and furthermore, just throwing it out there for the record, there's a lot of bad teams in the NFL. And there's a lot of bad coaches in the NFL. But sometimes, just every so often, every trash can gets a steak. So they should be winning some games, but it's a terrible thing to have this great field and great location that they never play in. Everybody plays in that place more than they do. And they got to kind of keep it going that way because they can't pay for that place because people are going to stop buying all this darn merch before it's all said and done.
They won't. They're not going to ever stop buying Cowboys merch. It's frustrating as hell.
We them boys.
I mean, I'm not going to argue that they can stay put for all I care. Yeah, I mean, listen, keep Dable where he is, keep McCarthy where he is. That's fine, right? If you're a coach of any self-respect, why would you want the Cowboys head coaching job? Because Felix lost in the. So, Mike, this is the same thing that we say a lot on the AAT Bird Show, right? Which is there's only 32 head coaching jobs. It's not difficult to fill them.
Yeah.
Everybody it's difficult to necessarily fill them with qualified candidates, but it's not difficult to fill them. Mike does need some accountability. Yeah, CJ, I agree.
CJ, no, stop. Like, I know what you're doing, and then he doesn't need accountability. This is not his fault. Right. Accountability, he's got a bad team, and he's got to cart that bad team out there every Sunday to be mollywop.
So let's stay in the NFC then for a second. Does Brian Dable need to be fired from the Giants?
Same exact conversation.
Same exact conversation.
He don't got
got an awful roster.
He's got what? Danny Dimes?
Danny Pennies, yeah.
No, man. Like, stop trying to fire these dudes with they haven't got anybody in there. These dudes stink. Like, stop it. Like, stop it. This is
But
blasphemy.
you know as well as I do that there needs to be a fall guy, right? Think about how the Jets just fired Robert Saleh
For
because
nothing.
Aaron Rodgers being pissy.
And are they winning right now?
No, they're down 20-17. But the Jets also haven't scored 17 points in a while either. So like this is like a big deal.
But the reason they haven't scored is because Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been pissy the whole time because he finally got somebody to check him. Like, Rodgers don't want to play for. He had an issue with McCarthy. He had an issue with everybody. Like,
He had an issue because
with
he
the
brought in
floor.
his guy as the offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. And now Nathaniel Hackett's not even the one calling the plays anymore. But they even said in this broadcast, the guy calling the plays is like, oh, well, I checked over with Aaron to see what he wanted. Robert Saleh was the fall guy, and he shouldn't have been. So we know in the NFL, coaches are going to get fired because the team, whether or not the roster is good, underperforms.
Brother, that's been the tale as old as time. And I'm here to tell you, all you great people out there in Facebook land, YouTube land, Twitter land, wherever you are, if you guys think that your job is safe in the NFL, it is not. And you're just 1 year from having a bad year with a crap roster, from packing your stuff and being an offensive coordinator in college again. Or so just keep that in mind. Like, this is a crapshoot, and a lot of these teams aren't built worth of crap.
And I agree, Javier. I agree, CJ. I agree that the Giants have the worst roster in football. I agree. And Mike Tom,
Let's
talk about Mr.
go.
500. We're going to talk about Mr. 500.
Hey,
right?
he ain't had a losing season yet. Let's go.
But I agree that the Giants have the worst roster in football, but they've had the worst roster in football. Then they bring in a guy like Malik Neighbors. Now he hasn't played last game or two because he's been injured. But again, the Giants are not a good football team. However, Dable will be fired this year. It's going to happen.
Let's see that beautiful wheel for that beautiful wheel.
We're not done with the hot seat. I'm not done with the hot seat yet, sir.
Can't be doing more with the hot seat.
Everybody else in the NFC is pretty fine. The AFC is where it gets interesting. And there's two coaches that I would like to discuss.
Okay? Oh, I knew you were going to go there. I hope you're talking about your boy, Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson is coach number one.
Yes, he needs to go.
Doug Peterson might not come back from England.
Doug Peterson needs to stay over there and figure out if he's coaching American football.
They might leave him over there in bloody England, right?
I mean, they're talking about him bad in pubs, and they don't even speak football language.
No, they're like, he's a mollywopple. I don't even know if that's right. I'm just speaking English. The King's English. Yeah, that's awful. That's terrible.
That's terrible.
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 Yeah, Doug Peterson absolutely needs to be fired. 100%, no questions asked.
Doug got worse when he left Philly.
Here's where I'm eagling, right? Here's where I'm eagling. I didn't think he was the right coach for the job. Maybe he won a Super Bowl. That's cool. He didn't really win the Super Bowl. His coordinators did. Nick Foles did. He had a vanilla offense. He bragged about vanilla ice cream. He wanted to keep Press Taylor around. And then when they fired him, they sent him to Jacksonville, where nobody really cares at all about football. And he still sucks. And he brought Press Taylor with him then too.
I would like to throw this out there. Duval.
Right? This is a great comment, right? Doug Peterson was never a great coach. Mike, I agree. He was a good leader, who caught lightning in a bottle in 2017. That part is true. They got hot when the hot needed to get getting.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Everything's got to happen. Them Raiders suck too.
Javier, how about them Raiders? Yeah. But I don't put that on Antonio Pierce. They do not have a quarterback. We
got one for sale if they want to buy him.
They do not have a quarterback. And have I mentioned they do not have a quarterback? That's actually not the team I'm really wanting to bring up. Kevin Stefanski of the Browns.
He can't do that with them boys, man. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Again, we're talking hot seats. So he is a former coach of the year, right?
Yes.
He's got the track record.
Right.
Playoff berths.
Right.
He's got Deshaun Watson as a quarterback.
Right.
Anywhere else in the Anywhere else in the NFL, Deshaun Watson doesn't even play.
Whoa, you got Danny Dimes in the league.
With what he's done in Cleveland,
Dude,
anywhere else in the NFL, he doesn't play.
Hold on, let me now see now.
But for that contract, he doesn't play.
Listen, I gotta speak up now. Like, I mean, I know he's not playing great right now. I get it. I know he's not playing.
He is the worst quarterback in the AFC right now.
That's hurtful. It's hurtful. All right. Listen, y'all can say what y'all want to say about Deshaun Watson. Name 3 of his targets.
Well, here we go, Clemson. Go ahead.
Name 3 of his targets.
Go ahead, why don't you defend Trevor Lawrence while you're at it? Since we're talking about crap quarterbacks from Clemson.
I'm not defending Trevor Lawrence. At the end of the day, they got a crap team and they got a crap offense. The same thing I'm gonna say about them. Literally, name 3 of Deshaun Watson's weapons. You cannot do it.
Amari Cooper.
He's 55 years old.
David Njoku.
Okay. Jerry Jeudy is washed. He was washed when he left the Broncos. He was washed when he was with the Broncos.
You said name 3 of his weapons. You got 3 weapons right there.
Okay, number 2. So the first weapon you said is 55 years old and it's on AARP. So so that's number 3. And the Njoku literally burnt himself to damn near death. So what are we doing? 90% of his body is covered in burns. He looks like Freddy Krueger. Like, what are you doing? Like, no. And it's a nightmare at Cleveland Street. That's what it's at.
You leave the Phantom of the tight end alone.
Listen, all I'm saying is he don't got nobody. The team is trash can juice. Like, just let people are where people go. Like, Cleveland's where people go to die. Like, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, people go to die in Cleveland.
Yeah, where they go to get dog pounded and then massaged. But
Javier's coming. We're gonna get canceled tonight.
No Diddy. So I just yelled at my students about saying that phrase, and now here I am using it on a podcast. Kids, if you're watching, do as I say, not as I do. Right? Javier saying this sounds like most of these teams is a roster issue, not a coach issue. Yes, but they don't fire GMs. They fire coaches.
I'm not hearing nothing you're saying. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm back. All right.
You know what it was? I said it was that no Diddy issue. That was the worst part.
Yeah, man. Like, cut me off, man.
Yeah, that was the censorship going. No, thank you.
It is Javier. I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, if you can't name me 5 teams from each division that are elite teams that have elite rosters, there's an issue with them having so many teams. There's not enough good players to go around, and if they are, they're banged up.
This is the thing that I said before. Your audio was like, nah, fam. But they don't fire GMs until they've had 2 or 3 coaches under them fail.
Right. That's true.
So the coach is going to be on the hot seat. The coach is going to be the one fired.
Right. But I'm just saying that it doesn't necessarily mean that the coach is a bad coach. He's going to go back to the.
Never did I say that.
Like, he's going to go back to the college ranks and he'll build himself back up. He'll end up back in the NFL. Like, look at Nick Saban. Like, Nick Saban, they said Nick Saban was trash. Like Nick Saban is not a trash coach, but he was a trash NFL coach. Nick Saban might technically be one of the best coaches we've ever seen in modern history. However, but people forget that he was in the NFL and was a trash can coach.
Chip Kelly, same thing.
I mean, I would never say Chip Kelly was a great coach. That'll never come out of my mouth.
He was a very good college coach in Oregon. Used it to get himself a job in the NFL. Completely crapped the bed at UCLA, and now he's running Ohio State's offense. He's the offensive coordinator for Ohio State.
Yeah, he's at Ohio State. You're right.
He's the offensive coordinator for Ohio State.
That's the other Kelly. That's the other Kelly at LSU.
Brian
Kelly. What's harder to replace Jim Case?
This is a great question, Javier. Yes.
Can I take this
one? While you answer, I'm going to go grab a bottle of water because I got a little tickle in my throat. So you got it.
All right,
you got it.
Perfect. All right. So in my heart of hearts, it's harder to replace the GM because as you replace the GM, you still got to let somebody get acclimated to the team, running the organization, being a good face of the team. opposed to a head coach, which head coaches are kind of plug and play for the most part. They're already going to have a kind of an idea of what type of system they want to run. They're going to have to bring in their own guys as far as like coordinators and nutritionists and all that crap. But for the most part, most GMs are harder to find because they have to be qualified and at least be able to deal with personnel because it's way more than dealing with, schemes and coaches and all this and press conferences. They have to deal with it as a whole. Like the whole thing is on you, the whole operation.
Scouting, they have to do
Yeah,
scouting. They've got to do personnel. They've got to do assistant GMs. They got to manage the money. Like there's a reason why Howie Roseman has been around since the dawn of the 2000s.
and to
And
be
why
complete,
he's had 4 or 5 coaches under him. That's unheard of.
yeah, but to be real, I mean, until recently, I thought he was a bad GM, but I mean, the dude is moving heaven and earth. He's getting guys in here. So I mean, the look at the roster, the Eagles are a pretty good team. They're
They're a
just
very good team on paper.
on paper. Yeah, they're just not. It's not just the
This is
clicking's
the
not clicking.
exact opposite situation of everything that we've been talking about, where the roster is exceptional, the execution is crap,
Facts.
which is coaching. Okay.
Mercy
CJ,
rule.
I hope you're still watching
He probably is. He probably somewhere. He ain't taking a nap yet.
because watching the Dallas Cowboys yesterday getting slapped stupid
At home.
at home as an Eagles fan made me happy.
hmm
But
As a football fan.
as a football fan, watching Aiden Hutchinson obliterate his leg in meaningless minutes is devastating for the entire Detroit franchise.
Yeah, man, I feel for that guy.
Watching games that are blowouts are great for stat padding,
hmm
but at every single level up to college, right? So peewee, meaning middle school, high school, all that stuff, right? All of that have mercy rules built in. And this is where the question comes in. And Mike does a bunch of stuff with sports betting. Like he knows this is kind of my point. Is there a point where mercy rules need to be added to the professional game for the safety of the players? I'm not even talking about the gambling part, right? Because there's no such thing as meaningless minutes. I would care to disagree. Watching Cooper Rush go against Herndon Hooker in the fourth quarter is meaningless. I love Craig Reynolds, right? Went to college with the guy. Watching him get those carries at the end of the game does nothing. Nobody has him on fantasy. Nobody picked him up of an over-under, 25.2 yards. So I understand as far as the betting goes, there never will be mercy rules or a running clock situation. A running clock.
I mean,
should there be?
Let's be honest. We should have
knew. Go sport by sport.
First of all, I'm just gonna hit the main one. The main one is the betting piece. We knew that we were screwed when they start letting people bet on the games, and then they started being sponsors for the NFL, NBA, college football, all
literally on the logo.
Like we're at a point now where because these people are in bed with the damn better makers, that like you're never gonna have that enforced. You're never gonna stop people from getting hurt in garbage time. And then then literally people aren't even taking their good players out because of some type of fantasy implications. And the players don't want to come out a lot of time for the chance that they might actually be able to get a touchdown in garbage time. And may help their fantasy profile. So let's be completely honest. If I'm being completely real, it's all hearsay. But everybody's not good for it until they end up like Aiden Hutchinson, who's now possibly not going to have a career. This could be career ending. And I wrote some notes down about this because I wanted to be able to bring this up. The only other injuries that I've seen in my lifetime that are worse than his was probably Alex Smith
Mm-hmm.
when he got his leg totally obliterated. Paul George, the first time
Yep.
Paul George's leg got completely snapped like a twig, and then Joe Theismann. Like
Yep.
these are big group. And there's another kid that played for Louisville named Ware. He got his leg completely obliterated too. So when these guys get obliterated in this trash time, and they sometimes their careers don't come back. Aiden Hutchinson was a promising young player, and now
Aiden Hutchinson was potentially the defensive player of the year this year.
yeah, next to TJ Watt probably. dude is a monster.
When the broadcast says, and I quote, "We cannot show you the footage. It is too gruesome."
Dude, his leg snapped like a twig. I ended up seeing it like a multi.
I still haven't watched the footage. I don't want to.
Dude,
As somebody
I can't.
who got hurt on football fields and had to be ambulanced off, which was really the end of my career because there was a turnover, a fumble, and the kid running with the ball. I was the quarterback, and I was chasing after him from behind, and the kid did one juke, and sure enough, my center was airborne with his helmet down and drove his helmet directly into my kneecap like that. My career was done.
When you see a leg, look, this is what the leg looked like. It was just flopping in the wind. It was nasty.
So my question then goes back to, and we can go, like I said, we can go sport by sport. Hockey, I don't give a shit about. I'm going to be honest. I want the Flyers to do well, but they're literally playing on razor blades. There's not a lot of safety involved.
No. And there might be some of the safest
playing
guys.
On razor blades.
And they might be some of the safest guys out there. might be
the strongest dudes out there, but they're playing on razor blades. Baseball, you only have a limited amount of players in your bench and in your bullpen. And you've got dudes throwing 100 miles an hour. So what did they start to allow more? Position players pitching. I don't want to go to a game and see Garrett Stubbs, backup catcher, eating up innings. Just end it. Just end it.
Just shorten the game up.
Just short. You want to talk about shortening the game? Games that I do, right? It's 15 after 3 innings. You stop it. There's no coming back. There's 12 after 4. There's 5 after 7. Or not 5 after 7, sorry, 10 after 7. 10 after 7.
And if it's basketball,
there's no coming back from it.
And in basketball, if you start holding the ball after like a minute or two, you get to hold the ball a minute or two. We call it a game. Because that means there's no point of them because they're not coming out. They guard you.
You know, you get to a certain point in high school soccer, you get to a certain point in high school basketball, and you just have a running clock. You have a certain point in high school football. You just have a running clock. Why? Because they're physical sports. They're contact sports. You got people jumping. You got legs bending and moving all over the place. You got people landing on each other. You've got concussions that can happen. You have torn ACLs. So, yes, Javier, why can't they just put the backups in? I don't give a shit to see them. I don't want to see the backups.
I don't want to see any.
Right. Also, the Lions kept playing the passing game at garbage time. Yeah, the team should understand where the game is at and run till it's over. I agree. And I know a bunch of people in the AAT Birds chat were still hoping that Gibbs and Montgomery would score some more touchdowns because they had bets on the line. That wasn't what was going to happen. So, again, when the game is clearly over,
call it.
Should there be professional mercy rules? Put the betting aside.
Call the damn game.
Throw the damn towel.
It was too late. And that's how Rocky Balboa got. I mean, that's how my boy got knocked. Apollo Creed. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
There's no easy way out. See, we got unboxing again. Apparently, this is fight night. Ding, ding.
Let's speak about fight night. Let's see if we can get to that one.
So, again, I am a big believer that there should be mercy rules in sports, but I'm also an official, and I'm a big fan of mercy rules in general.
Oh,
yeah, and Mike, I understand, right? Not for pro sports because of contracts and incentives. I get that, but then work harder in the minutes that you play.
Yeah, I don't got time to be watching your dudes playing garbage time, dude. Let's talk that talk. Week 7. No, week 7. We just went through week 7. It was absolute garbage can juice.
Whoa.
If you're a better,
hold on. Hold on.
What?
You said this last week of games was not good?
No, it was great, but I'm saying it's garbage can juice.
Oh, okay.
All right. So League 7, garbage can juice. I call it fright night. If you're a top 10 team, last 2 weeks, it's been fright night for you. It's been really scary. We had Oregon, Ohio State go down to the freaking wire. 1 point win for Oregon over Ohio State. That moves Oregon to the number 2 spot. And not much to say. It was an instant classic. I feel like Penn State. I cannot say enough about these Penn State Indians. All right. First of all, Penn State is getting absolutely obliterated at the beginning, and they come battling, roaring back, no pun intended, and they pick up the dub by 3. You know what I'm
They
saying?
pick up the dub. How? By one of the goofiest plays I have ever seen.
This is true. It is. It was one
And
of
it
the
was also absolutely brilliant.
It was absolutely brilliant. I will give them that. Then you have some top guys that are struggling with some unranked teams. I point in case Alabama almost loses to South Carolina at Alabama 25-27 in a barn burner, which everyone from South Carolina wanted Alabama to lose, including the Clemson fans. Um, Lastly, Tennessee, number 8, almost loses to Florida. And I'm being honest, I wasn't impressed. I have not been impressed the last couple of weeks with Tennessee, and I'm hoping they start back on it because they got Alabama coming up next week, and then LSU beats Ole Miss at LSU. Clemson rolled by our guys. They rolled by those guys 49-14, which puts them at number 10 spot. So looking forward, because this is what I actually want to talk about. Looking forward in week 8, there's 2 major matchups that everyone should have their eyes on if you're a college football fan. One of them being Alabama at Tennessee, a 3:30 kickoff. It is going to be this is an elimination game for somebody. For
Yeah.
whoever loses, it's an elimination game, 7 versus 11. They're both 5-1, but it will make them 2-2 in the SEC if they lose. So this is going to knock them out of contention. And then you also have Georgia at Texas.
1 versus 5.
1 versus 5. They're playing in Texas. I need to throw this out there really quick. Georgia has not looked good recently. I don't know what it is. They've been seeming to have the interception bug Carson Beck does. And right now, as it sits, if Georgia loses this game, they will be eliminated from playoff contention as well. Now it can get scary here if Georgia is able to beat Texas, because that makes Texas be 2-1 in the SEC, 6-1 on the season. It propels Georgia back up, but it kind of puts them in a weird spot with kind of being whoever the winner of the Alabama Tennessee game, and then if Georgia's able to pull it out, and then you still got to throw Texas back in. So it could be it could get kind of weird here if you're a college football fan in the next 2 weeks. This is the exact middle spot of the season, so we're at the halfway point now. So, and there's still lots to be decided. In Miami, if they are able to lose to Louisville, that would be a really, really bad loss for them, seeing as Louisville is not ranked. They're not ranked in the top 25.
Looking at a lot of the games that happened this past weekend, right? So Penn State struggled against a USC team that, I mean, we knew that these old Big Ten versus Pac-10 matchups were going to be weird.
Pac-12.
100%. Like we knew they were going to be weird, but they eventually ended up winning the game. And obviously they were going to move up because 2 versus 3 played each other, right? The only reason why Ohio State didn't fall further was because they played really well, right? It was a good matchup. It was anybody could take this game matchup, and that's what it ended up being, right? So they fell to 4, but that still keeps them in the running for all of the things.
Yeah, but see, then that makes that Penn State Ohio State game super important in the next coming years.
Here's what I'm going to say. Penn State very rarely beats Ohio State.
Real.
And they very rarely look good against Ohio State. So same logic on the line, right? You could have, by that point, like I could imagine Texas losing this week to Georgia because they do have a quarterback controversy, right? And Ewers did not look great in his return.
He didn't. And I was going to say that, but I'm glad you beat me to it. So I'm thinking that I'm glad you're doing your homework on college football now.
See, I am. Right. And Ewers did not look great in his return, which means everyone is calling for Arch Manning to be the starter again. Why? Because he's got the hot name and all the things. Like, we understand this. But what could end up happening is that Ohio State-Penn State matchup could be a 2 versus 3. It could be a 1 versus 2 matchup by the time it rolls around. If Penn State does not look good against Ohio State and they lose and they don't look good doing it, they're going to plummet, right? It's not going to be a little cutesy fall to 4 like Ohio State just did. They're going to plummet probably outside the top 10. What's even more wild for me is that Notre Dame, after losing to a Northern Illinois, is even as ranked as high as they are. Because we've seen what Notre Dame does against real football teams, let alone against crap football teams.
I've been so glad you said that because I've been wanting to talk
Dude,
about
I'm ready today, man.
Listen, I've been wanting to do this with you for like 3 days. So right now, as we talk about it, Texas is number 1, Oregon 2, Penn State 3, Ohio State 4, Georgia 5, Miami 6, 7 Alabama, 8 LSU, 9 Iowa State, 10 Clemson, 11 Tennessee, and 12 Notre Dame. If the
Which is
playoffs
crazy because Notre Dame looked a lot better going into that game against Stanford before they. I mean, weren't they 11 going into the game?
I think so.
I think they dropped the spot, right?
Well, they did because Tennessee lost.
Right. Okay.
So you got a lot of teams, and then Iowa State hasn't lost yet. Miami hasn't lost yet. So there's a lot of teams that are ranked higher, but they haven't played anybody. So their strength of schedule is messed up. So, and this is what I want to talk about. If by chance you've been paying attention, if you look around at 10, 11, and 12 spot, those teams have the best chance of moving up the next 2 weeks because you have a lot of big games happening at the top. So be careful if you bet against Clemson. Like I know a lot of people have bet against Clemson because they lost really early in the season in Georgia. Well, they've been really hot as of late.
But again, that's against Georgia, and that's their only loss.
That is against Georgia now. So your best bet as a Clemson fan is to hope that Georgia does take out that they do take out Texas because your win now looks better. I mean, they're not playing. Is Georgia playing Texas? Who's playing
Georgia's
Texas?
playing Texas, yes.
Okay, so you're hoping that Georgia beat Texas because that would create the chaos that you need because now your loss to Georgia at the beginning of the season now is a good loss, and it probably will propel you over to Alabama, probably over at LSU. And if Miami somehow is a way to lose, which I don't know, they may lose a little bit. If they do, you could end up having Clemson and Miami playing for a division title with everything on the line. Same thing with Penn State, Ohio State. Before they get to the conference final, there could be chaos. There could be chaos with Georgia, Texas, and Alabama, and possibly Tennessee. So, dude, this is the one that I thought this was going to be one of the years that I'm like, oh yeah, there's too many teams in there, but it is what it is.
By opening it up to 12 teams, and Mike, this kind of answers your question, right? I don't watch college football, but how can Notre Dame be in the playoff combo after losing to Northern Illinois? Makes no sense to me. And here's why, right? Because number one, the loss happened earlier in the season, so they had time to put some quality wins on paper. Now, if they lose again, they're going to be out of the competition. Like because they don't have my mind. They have to run the table.
Because there's another piece to this, and I'll talk about this, Mike, and this is where it gets kind of dicey. Like we said, conference champions. If you're a conference champion of the Power Five, you get an automatic bye. So SEC, ACC, Big 12, I think Big 10. They all get their conference champion. Huh?
Yeah, the Big 10.
Yeah, they all get one. So, like, if you're a conference champion of those, you're automatically in. So that could mean that could be Clemson, or Miami. That could be Georgia or Texas, or Alabama and Texas, or Tennessee and whoever. It could be any of those teams in Texas. You got Ohio State or Penn State possibly, and then you got in the Pac-12 or whoever they got over there. You got one of those teams.
Or Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, or Oregon is the winner of the Big Ten.
So we have lots to talk about because of the restructuring of everything. It has only just begun. And the teams that have lost early in the season, that might have been the best thing they could do for themselves because if you lose early enough, people forget that it even happened, especially by the time that the committee starts meeting. Like,
now, here's my question, talking more of the immediate stuff, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this, right? Georgia beats Texas this weekend.
Yeah, chaos.
Does Georgia catapult to the number 1 or 2 spot?
No. Georgia will remain probably top 4 because that'll bounce everyone down. So that'll bounce Georgia to 4, it'll bounce Oregon to 1, Penn State to 2, Ohio State to 3, and Georgia to 4.
Even though beating the number 1 team. Because where do you have Texas then? You have Texas in the top 4?
Texas is number 1.
I'm saying if Georgia wins,
Georgia will be probably 6 or 5.
Georgia right now is 5. Georgia right now is 5. Texas is 1. If Georgia beats Texas, where do you have all these teams?
I have, like I said, Oregon 1, Penn State 2, Ohio State 3, Georgia 4, Texas 5.
Even what if it's a blowout win?
If it's a blowout, you get moving to maybe 7 or 8, and then you kind of start. But you're going to have to shift a lot of these teams anyway because you don't know what's going to end up happening with Texas and Alabama. I mean, Tennessee and Alabama, they're both out. But let's say Alabama comes and they have a resounding win. Like, do you move? If let's say Tennessee loses to, let's say Alabama loses to Tennessee bad, then you got to bounce Alabama out of the top 10. That means your Clemson, LSU will probably move up.
Texas, it's college football. Everything is so confusing. There's so much going on, which goes a lot with Mike's, right? How many teams per power conference can make the playoffs? With the new 12-team power conference, right? Winner of each power conference, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4 are the winner of each of the 4 power conferences. The other 8 spots are the other 8 top best teams, regardless of conference.
Yep. So that's where it gets weird because then it becomes strength of schedule. Then we're doing that whole thing we did before when it was top 4 spots. You have the committee who will meet, and then you're at the mercy of the committee. They're gonna look at strength of schedule, strength of loss against like opponents, biggest win, all that stuff. So it's gonna get really, really dicey, and it's gonna be great for football. If you're a college football fan, it's going to be awesome because there's gonna be some.
If you're Javier, your eyeballs are gonna leak out your nose.
Because think about this, and I'll be done because I get really hyped up about this. If let's say, for example, Penn State doesn't win the Big 12. I mean the Big 10, but they're the second team in the Big 10 and they're still in the top 12. And let's say, for example, Clemson doesn't win the ACC. You could still have one of those weird matchups where you have Clemson play Penn State, which never has happened. And it's meaningful football, either up in Happy Valley or down at Memorial Stadium at Death Valley. And you might get an instant classic. A game you have never seen before, but it's for all the marbles. And it'll mean something.
Yep. Mike, what I will tell you is outside. So Mike's saying more teams in the tournament, so much more less confusing, the quadrant stuff. What I will tell you is outside of the top 4, you're going to see quadrants, right? Once the playoff committee picks the teams that they want, there is a bracket that is developed.
The bracket is out there. You can go look for it, but you won't know what teams are in it until you know the whole gist.
All right. 2 topics left, and they are both great ones.
Bangers.
Oh, this is the one that you wanted.
I've been wanting this, bro.
This is the one that you wanted.
Yeah. Let's go on that smoke. Let's go.
Okay.
With my Stevie J face.
Dante DiVincenzo, member of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Former member of the Nova Knicks, played the Nova Knicks and Karl Anthony Towns yesterday.
Karl Anthony Towns and the Nova Knicks.
JD, did something happen at the game with Dante?
Oh yeah. My boy Dante showed y'all why he's the white John B and why he's back. He gave maybe one of the funniest audio bites of the year so far. And the year just literally started. Um, he asked, he was talking trash to Thibodeau after getting an and one
while shooting his free throw.
while shooting his free throw and dribbling the ball. Basically said that's what happens when they let you be in charge. Something like to Tibbs. And I don't like Tibbs. Think Tibbs is a shit coach anyway. So to be honest, like I'm here for it. And you knew there was gonna be some bad blood because you moved him away from his bros to grab Carl Anthony Towns, which is not Carl Anthony Towns' fault. It's a business at the end of the day. But you went through all this process of creating the Nova Knicks just to get rid of one of the Nova Knicks, the first chance you got. Um, and then after the game, Brunson's dad now tries to run up to rectify the situation as if his old behind is gonna do something. And DiVincenzo's still talking hot. He's still like, yeah, bro, whatever.
He didn't play the whole fourth quarter. My man was cooled out by that point.
Yeah, and so he doesn't play, and he tells my man on the sideline, and he's hugging his son. So he's hugging Jalen Brunson, and then Brunson's dad is now chirping. So now DiVincenzo approaches my man, has to be broken up by a teammate or two. Like, bro, what can these guys possibly? It's going to be a crazy meeting at MSG when the season gets rolling. It is going to be hostile if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, that was something.
It was intense.
That was something. And I'm not saying it was a bad something. I'm just saying it was something. And I don't know how that all happened. I get that, Dante DiVincenzo's a little pissed off, and probably rightfully so, because again, we're talking about scapegoats and he's the low man on the totem pole, and they just done this whole thing where they re-brought, all of the Nova Knicks together, and then they went, but not you, Dante, you out.
Like, how was he on the chopping block?
He's a solid bench player.
Like, he's starting from Minnesota.
Well, I mean, that doesn't say much about Minnesota.
Minnesota got Anthony Edwards, so I don't know. Minnesota still got a solid team. I was looking at them the other day. They still got a solid team, bro.
Do they? And listen, I mean, I really like the addition of Julius Randle to any team if the guy can stay healthy.
You got Julius Randle with Rudy Gobert. I do think
Julius Randle is a good player.
You got Julius Randle with Rudy Gobert, Anthony Edwards, who they could be very similar to each other in the way they play. DiVincenzo at point guard. You got a pretty good little solid little team there, man. I'm sorry. I think the Knicks lost this trade, to be honest.
I completely disagree with you. And I disagree with you.
Because Cat hasn't showed me nothing.
But here's one of the things that you brought up when this trade dropped is that can Karl Anthony Towns compete against Joel Embiid? And so what I said to you at that point was no, but Joel Embiid is not playing as much, right? Joel Embiid is on a minutes restriction already, number one. Paul George tonight left with a hyperextended knee in the preseason, number two, right? So this Sixers team is already focusing on how to survive this season.
They may be, but you're still got like these guys. Like Karl Anthony Towns doesn't know how to win. He's never won anything. The only thing he ever won was the sweepstakes on Jordan because her friend, the Kardashian Jenner girl, stopped being her friend.
Didn't he win a national title with Kentucky?
Maybe. Was that Booker's team?
I thought so.
Maybe. But the fact that we don't know for sure is actually half the problem. Let's see. Here we go. Let's hit it. Hit Mike Barrera. Let's go, Mikey. Tell him what it is.
I still don't think Cat can compete against pressure of New York City. That's very true. We brought that up night of the trade. It's different in those big markets, and Cat is softer than Sharman.
With 2-3 plot. That's how soft he is. You know what I'm saying? Since AD. Look at this. Kentucky hasn't won a championship since AD. And I know Karl Anthony Towns was not around for that one. So guess what, Cat?
I'm looking at the stuff, and he didn't.
You ain't real, Cat. And I'm gonna be honest. You ain't gonna win nothing there. He's almost catching it worse than Tatum did. because he's been in the league longer.
I mean, I listen. It's all going to come out. We know it's all going to come out, but at the same time, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns 2015, Anthony Davis was 2012.
3 years removed, still couldn't get over the hump.
So yeah, the Dante DiVincenzo thing is good TV. So we can agree to that. It's good TV. But it was entertaining to watch.
Are you ready for me to call it what I'm gonna call it?
Do it.
The Curse of Dante. Ooh, the Curse of Dante. The new curse they did Charles Oakley wrong. He's been cursing them since, and now they got the Curse of DiVincenzo. Let's go.
Okay. Real quick, and I pulled the NFL thing off the wheel because we talked about the NFL a ton. It is now officially confirmed that Tua Tagovailoa will be making his return to the field this season. How stupid can this man be?
He doesn't want to live.
He doesn't want to live, right? And even Tyreek Hill is out there, right? Coach Fuller, who's somebody on Twitter, I don't know, Coach Jim Fuller, said, I think Tua's first playback should be a quarterback designed run to show the league he ain't scared. Hashtag go Fins. To which Tyreek Hill tweeted back, well, who's going to call the next play?
Exactly.
Like, that's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback, man.
That's my quarterback. It is unsafe for Tua Tagovailoa to be on a field. Take your millions.
Get on through.
Count them on an abacus because you can't use your fingers anymore. Right?
Man, boy, and it's all the CTE crap, man. Like, you just get out of the game. One of your fellow Islanders in Junior Seau took his own life because of possible CTE. Like, stop it.
That was such an ugly hit. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but there have been a lot of potential head injuries this season, and they are clearing them very, very quickly. Have you noticed that? Like, Joe Burrow went in the tent in and out in under 30 seconds last night.
Yeah, but Joe Burrow's, I mean, I looked at the hit. I re-looked at the hit, and it was more shoulder than it was, you know what I'm saying, head. And at the end of the day, they got multiple people that are way smarter than me making the call.
I know, and that's 100% true. It worries me with watching how many of these guys don't know how to take a hit anymore. Like, the one thing for me that I saw on Hard Knocks this year that I thought was such a good thing is when they were working through the quarterback room, they literally set up a slip and slide for the quarterbacks to learn how to slide.
I'm not mad about this.
I'm not mad about it. And that's how they made Caleb Williams a mediocre quarterback, right? Caleb Williams, by the way, might be proving us both wrong. It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell.
He didn't do it on anybody.
What's that?
He didn't do that shit on anybody good. Like, he did that on who they play?
Yesterday?
Yeah.
The Jaguars. Caleb Williams versus the Jaguars.
We literally just said that coaching staff and that quarterback should be fired. Like, hey, get out of here.
I'm just saying. Speaking of coaches that should be fired, the final topic of the night.
Come on, man.
Is Nick Sirianni, you damn fool.
I like that guy.
And everybody has weighed in on this baloney that happened yesterday. But if you have been living under a rock,
let's go.
Here's what happened yesterday. The Philadelphia Eagles yesterday. I know, right? Sometimes the wheel does what it needs to do, Javier.
The wheel be willing.
The wheel does sometimes be willing. That's why we put our faith in it, right? So Nick Sirianni, who in my mind is on a coach's hot seat, right? Because of the epic drop-off over the last calendar year. And this is just me, right? Epic drop-off. The team has regressed. Your quarterback has regressed. Your coordinators are still finding success, and you are not, which says to me that it is a coaching problem. What exactly are you doing? When Kellen Moore came in, we saw that it was going to be a bunch of a couple things. It was going to be a bunch of pre-snap motion, blah, blah, blah. That has now gone away. Why? Because Nick Sirianni has gotten himself involved, right? You have now he's like, well, I'm going to help out Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio don't need your help. If he's going to suck, he's going to suck all on his own, right? Here's what ends up happening yesterday.
You have the video?
Bye week. I don't have the bye week of him yelling at the fans. I have the bye week. I have the video of his apology today.
I love it.
The game ends after playing like absolute donkey crap versus the worst team in football. You had a week to prepare, and you put out that effort. You had all your stars back, and you put out that effort.
Did they seem like they were 100%?
It doesn't matter. At 52%, that Eagles team should have destroyed that Cleveland Browns team. That Cleveland Browns team is terrible, right? In the first half, the fire Nick chants begin. And you know what? The Boo Birds were raining down. And you know what? They were absolutely well within their right to do it because the team at halftime looked like crap. They made a couple adjustments. They squeaked away with a win like they have squeaked away with every win over the last calendar year. Nick Sirianni at the end of the game where they just barely win starts screaming and jawing at the Eagles fan base.
Oh, yeah.
Then, and this is the part that I'm going to call him a punk for, knowing that he's going to get crap for it. What does he do in his post-game news conference? He brings his kids in to diffuse the situation. The kids don't always come to the post-game news conferences, but when he knows he's in some crap, absolutely. And he diffuses even then. Oh, I was just having fun. I'm intense. Blah, 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 blah. And then today, after 24 hours of people going, no, Nick, you haven't earned it. No, Nick, you ain't worth it. No, Nick, it's not okay. He puts out this garbage. First off, why is he over here looking like American History X up in this mother? Comes out.
Dude, what are we doing?
This
crap.
Was he buzzed listening?
Yesterday, energy, enthusiasm yesterday, and I'm sorry and disappointed on how my energy was directed at the end of the game. And my energy should be all in on coaching, motivating, right, and celebrating with our guys. And so, that's and I got to have better wisdom and discernment of when to use that energy, and that wasn't the time. And so,
hey Nick, I'm wondering what made you kind of feel the way you do, what you just articulated. What made you change your mind? Because after the game, you said I was just having fun. What changed,
sure.
and
Yeah,
were you the way the fans reacted?
There's play calls in the game that you go through, and game management things that you go through and say, at the time I thought this was the right thing, and then you evaluate everything. You evaluate the way the players played. You evaluate the things that you did as a coach to get them ready to play, or the calls that you made, or the management of the game that you did. And you do the same thing with other things, which this one is.
Okay, can I jump in on this thing?
This is all you. This is all you.
First off, like I have told you guys multiple times, as a pseudo Eagles fan, guilty by association, my wife is an Eagles fan. You guys may possibly be the absolute worst fan base in America as far as how you treat people. You threw stuff at Santa Claus. We will never forget.
Oh my God, it was 50 years ago. Get over it. 50 years ago, get over it.
And you punched a police horse. Allegedly. So you guys have lost more athletes in Philadelphia than there could possibly be lost to one single city. Now you guys have turned on a coach who was super nice when he first started this shit, and I've seen the light leave this guy's eyes now. He looks like a damn zombie. And then And then to not add insult to injury, the dude took you guys to a freaking Super Bowl. You know how many teams haven't been to a Super Bowl in 30 years? Ask the Cowboys if they love to go to the Super Bowl. They love to go to the Super Bowl.
We fired Doug Peterson, who won the damn thing.
Oh, I'm all for it. Can you hear me?
Yeah. No,
Can
we
you-
heard everything you said. We heard everything you said.
So, what I'm trying to get you to understand is, after all of this, you're talking about firing this guy. He claps back, and now y'all are mad at him because he had something to say back to you people. Are you kidding me? So first of all, number one, he didn't pick the fight. Y'all picked the fight with him, and now that he's coming back, now y'all won't smoke. No, y'all just have to fire him. Y'all want to take this man's livelihood from him. This is what you paid some extra money for some tickets, and now y'all are what? Y'all are God. Y'all are Zeus. Like, you know what? Kick rocks. And I hope he cusses y'all out again. I hope he lose the next 3 games for y'all, and then y'all have to fire him, and y'all will be out of playoff contention. It'll be the curse of Nick. You guys are
You're just
killing me.
out here doing some Halloween voodoo stuff. Curse of Dante, curse of Nick.
And then my man, and then this is the last part. Then he brings his kids up there because he had a hard day. Brings
That's
his
a punk
kid.
ass move. That's a punk ass move.
Okay, all right, cool, that's fine. But what I'm trying to tell you is that after saying all of that, what makes you guys feel like you deserve to just talk and treat people this way? You guys haven't won shit. Like, what are we talking? You guys are
We won
me.
Super Bowl more recently than your Steelers, dog.
That's right, but they got 6 of them. We'll give you one. We'll spot you one. We'll take off one, and you gonna have any. What are you guys talking about? You haven't won shit. You guys are sitting around here twiddling your thumbs, talking shit on Twitter. I'll see more shit talk about on Twitter about the Eagles than I ever do about the Steelers, and it's just crap.
Because Steelers
Like,
fans can't spell shit.
you're right, but we know how to throw shit.
That's true.
But then again, you guys have thrown things on the field. Like, this is a hostile environment for anyone who comes in here, players or coaches. So let's think about this. They lost how many games?
This season?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 3-2.
Oh, so you're over 500. You're
Mhm.
still in the lead of the NFC East. And as far as I'm concerned, you're still going to win the NFC East.
First off, we're not in the lead of the NFC East because we had the bye week, so win percentage, the Commanders are still in the lead.
You'll beat the Commanders, you'll beat the Giants, and you will definitely beat the Cowboys. You guys will win the NFC East. And then all will be
But
well.
JD, this is the point, right? And on paper, you're right. We do have a better roster than all 3 of those teams. 100%. And we had a better roster than all those teams last year, too. So what does it come down to then? The execution for the last calendar year. And we know it's tough to win games in the NFL. We'll take a line right out of Nicky Sirianni's book. It's tough to win games in the NFL, but it ain't so tough for everybody. And right now, like, you look at, okay, the Lions are a better team than the Dallas Cowboys when the Dallas Cowboys had all their injuries. So did they let the Cowboys screw around and stay close? No, they beat the living hell out of them. Right? Yesterday, the Bears beat the living hell out of the Jaguars. Why? Because the Bears are a better football team than the Jaguars. We squeaked out a win against the worst team in football. We squeaked out a win against the Green Bay Packers in week 1. We got mollywopped by the Bucks. We got beat up and down the field by the Falcons. We squeaked out a win against the Saints. We didn't win that game. The Saints lost that game.
So well, the Saints are a good team. So,
yeah, but that's my point. The Eagles lost that game. The only only reason why that went into the win column is because the Saints pissed it away. Right?
Dude,
I get it's tough to win in the NFL, but this has been a calendar year of the same thing. And at some point, you actually have to just have a team prepared. At some point, you have to win the turnover battle. At some point, you got to not make stupid ass decisions. At some point, your quarterback has to not regress. And if you're the head coach of the team, these are all the things that are happening. Johnny last night, of all the things, compared Nick Sirianni to Richie Kotite. And then he added the numbers up this morning. It's identical.
Can I be completely honest though? If you guys were to fire Nick Sirianni and you were to go continue the season and get your ass completely muddled for the rest of the season, you'd be okay with that. You'd be okay with that.
No, I don't
Why
want
not?
to fire. I don't want to fire Nick Sirianni. Okay?
Why not?
Let me back it up. I don't want to fire Nick Sirianni. I want this team to look like they should. I want this team to look prepared. This
You
team has
want
not
this?
looked prepared
Here it
in
is.
a year.
Here's the bottom line. This is what we're going to do. Here's the bottom. They don't give out rings in October or November or December. He can still right the ship. And if he's got to make the mistakes he needs to make now to right the ship, then let him right the ship. But you cannot fire him right now. You cannot mess with the juju. You can't do any of that. So, Philadelphia, let this man live. Stop talking shit to all of your athletes and players and give them time, because nobody comes on your shit job, wherever it is, because we all hate our jobs, and go in there. And when you have a bad day, people are talking about, well, you should fire so and so. Everyone on Twitter, everyone coming to your job, they should be yelling, fire this guy. If you work at Wendy's and you give the wrong set of fries to a guy, nobody is coming to the Wendy's window with a huge lynch mob saying, fire John, because people don't do that. So don't go to his job with your pitchfork.
Teach middle school. You know people be saying that shit.
Yeah, but they don't.
And their children. And Javier's right. Like, this is not going to stop. But here's where it has to get better. This team has got to start looking better. It's tough to win games in the NFL, but the way we've been winning is not sustainable. And you saw last year when we started 10-1, and out of those 10 wins, 9 of them were just like this.
Do you want to win or do you want to be dominant? Because those are two different things.
I want to be dominant.
Okay. Well, how about this? I'll tell you who was dominant yesterday. The Cowboys got dominated by a team. That team might not win any more games for real
because
of injuries and the way that the year plays out. So it is a lot about luck. It's a lot about what happens. It's a lot about choice. So you gotta take the wins where you can get.
If we lose a game 31-30 and both teams fought down to the damn wire, I can live with that. I would say nothing but positive crap.
Well, both teams fought to the wire yesterday too. You still talking to
a crap game. Rodney McLeod is the team leader in touchdowns on the Cleveland Browns, and the man plays defense.
Who is he?
Rodney McLeod is the safety for the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, you told me that you told me that Deshaun Watson had all these weapons though. Remember you told me that at the beginning of the show?
Right, the team is bad. The team is playing bad because of Deshaun Watson. You should put Jameis Winston playing with that team. Just like right after Bryce Young was benched, I had my Uleka lock saying that Andy Dalton was going to lead the Panthers to a win. And sure damn enough, sometimes the quarterback matters. There's a reason why Sam Darnold right now is the league leader for the MVP award.
Guys, I understand what you're saying, but every garbage can gets a stake. This is not college. We can talk about the roster all we want to, but there's your top 5 players are not healthy. Like they're not. They're just not healthy. Devontae Smith's not healthy. AJ Brown's not really all that healthy. I don't think Goddard is that healthy. I know for a fact that something is going to be wrong with Saquon, because if they don't start watching it, he's going to be hurt. So I promise you that you need a lot of luck, and everything's not supposed to be working 100% in October. October is for baseball. October, low blow.
But it's also not supposed to look this bad. You barely beat a Browns team. Barely.
Do you remember how the games looked at when whatchamacallit went down? When Wentz went down that year 2017? Was there dominance in those games?
No, but we'd already clinched the first.
No, but I'm saying, were there dominance? Was it dominance?
No.
Going into the
But we
playoffs.
also, at that point, in 2017, when Wentz went down, we did not think we were going to be the Super Bowl champions.
Right, but what I'm saying is, so how about we just don't think? We just let these guys play. We just
We do,
let them
but
play.
people
let them
pay
play.
me exactly no money to complain about these things.
Exactly. So how about we just do that? Let's let them play. You guys keep
But
going
then
to the
what-
games.
But then what would I talk about?
I don't know. You find something. There'll be something. Someone will get slapped to eat your Chicky and Pete's fries at the game, and y'all shut up and leave Nick Sirianni alone and let him coach and let him figure this thing out. Because if y'all don't, you're gonna be sitting at the house first round of the playoffs after the wild card.
Dude is a damn. History is doomed to repeat itself. We saw the story already last year, though, and this is where and why the Eagles fans are getting frustrated this year, because we started 10-1, absolutely crapped the bed, and we went, okay, now we're going to get Saquon Barkley. This team should be better, right? 5 games into the season, we are exactly the same type of team that ended the season last year.
You know what they say about history repeating itself? You can't keep trying the same thing the same way and expecting a different result. When has the Philly fan base ever been patient with a coach? I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know who.
There was that one time where never, and I understand what you're saying, but we can't go from the Super Bowl to crap.
Dude, it happens to everybody. Who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Chiefs, like always.
And didn't they say the Chiefs look like shit right now?
No.
They do look like shit right now.
Yeah, but how many of their starters are down?
Oh, it's funny how you can remember their starters being down, but you don't know your own starters that are down.
All of our starters were back. They didn't play against the Bucs. We got mollywopped because they still decided to pass the ball 40 times without any of the wide receivers. Right, go ahead.
And then now they're still not healthy. I'm telling you, I saw AJ Brown. He's still not healthy.
Whatever. He went for over 100.
Because they threw it to him a fuck ton of times.
Right. So when you utilize your weapons effectively.
What are we doing? All right, Chip. It's been nice. I tried to talk you off the ledge. It's not gonna happen tonight. Clearly,
I'm on the ledge tonight.
You're on the ledge. I'll bring you a sandwich up there. Hopefully you'll eat it before you die.
All right. So 1 week from tonight, when we live again, and we're talking about the Eagles, the Giants matchup that happened. If the Eagles look like crap again
Against the Giants?
Against the Giants, another bad football team, will I be allowed to be on the ledge at that point? Will you personally secure my bungee?
Yeah, I think you will, and I think if you want to, but if they're not a bad team, you have to come on here and publicly apologize if they look
100%.
dominant.
If they dominate, I will shut up.
That means you too, Javier. You come on here and you let everyone know.
At that point,
Eat your
I don't even
crow.
care if we win or lose. Like, obviously, I want to win. But if they look dominant, cool. Because looking dominant against the Giants team will equate to a win.
Okay. Eating crow also equates with a win, and I want you to have your fork, spoon, and bib ready because you're gonna be eating a lot of it because the Giants stink. So,
Well, it's been real.
it's been real. What if they don't? Then I'll come on here and I'll tell you guys where y'all can. I'll go pick Nick Sirianni and put him in my car and bring him to South Carolina and get him out y'all's hair.
Yeah, he can take over for Dabo.
Whoa, Dabo's winning, bro. You better put some respect on Dabo's name. Put some respect on Dabo's name. Y'all need Dabo.
All right, I'm Chip.
I'm Drip.
Nice Drip. We out of this, bitch.